We were the shamed ones, the generation that failed. Earth was a fever dream, a world choking on its own breath. The sky was a brown shroud. The oceans heaved with poison. We were given a choice: stay and suffocate with the rest, or leave and be forgotten. We chose the cold sleep between the stars, an ark of exiles, sent away in disgrace. Our mission was not to explore, it was to disappear, to carry our failure into the infinite dark and let our species die with dignity back home. A dignity we had no part in. The cryopods hissed open, not with the gentle sigh of a planned awakening, but with the shriek of an emergency override. Frost melted into icy rivers on the glass. We stumbled out, our muscles screaming from centuries of stillness. The ship's main corridor was bathed in a blood-red light. An alarm, a single piercing note, drilled into our skulls. It was a sound no one was ever supposed to hear. The log showed 4,000 years had passed. 4 millennia of silent, dreamless flight. We were meant to sleep for 10,000. Something was terribly wrong. We gathered on the bridge. The view screen was not black. It was not dotted with the familiar points of distant suns. Instead, it was a whirlpool of impossible color. A vast, swirling cloud of light and energy. It was a nebula, but not one from any star chart. It pulsed with the raw power of creation. It was a tear in the fabric of space itself. Our ship, the forgotten ark, drifted toward its heart. The alarms grew louder. The hull began to groan under an unseen pressure. We were caught in its current. There was no escape. We were about to be erased. The light consumed us. It passed through the hull as if it were glass. It poured over our skin, warm and terrifying. It was not a fire that burned. It was a fire that remade. We felt it in our bones, in our very cells. Every part of us was unwritten, then written anew. The pain was immense, but fleeting. It was replaced by a clarity we had never known. The universe opened up to us, not as a collection of stars and planets, but as a tapestry of infinite threads, and we could feel every single one. We were no longer human. We had been baptized in creation's fire, and we were reborn. The ship's alarms fell silent. We silenced them with a thought. The red emergency lights shifted to a calm, soft white. A crewmate looked at his hands. He imagined a sphere of light hovering above his palm. And it appeared. A perfect, glowing orb of gold. Another focused on the damaged engine console. The twisted metal flowed back into its original shape. It was as if it had never been broken. We discovered the nebula had changed our minds. Our consciousness was now linked to reality itself. We could weave its strands. What we willed became. We were no longer prisoners of the physical world. We were its masters. We spent centuries in our new home. The nebula became our playground, our canvas. We left the cramped confines of the ark. We built cities of pure light and thought, towers that pierced the swirling clouds of color, gardens where the plants sang melodies of starlight. We no longer needed food or sleep. We drew our energy directly from the cosmos. We were a civilization of artists and architects, sculptors of reality. We shed our old names, our old shames. We were the woven, no longer exiles, but architects of our own destiny. Our past on Earth became a distant, half-forgotten myth, a bad dream from a life that was not ours. Then the signal arrived. It was faint, impossibly faint, a ghost of a whisper across an unimaginable distance. It was a message, a plea, carried on a radio wave that had traveled for thousands of years. It was in an old human tongue, one we had not used in ages. The message was fragmented, corrupted by its long journey. But the meaning was clear. Help us, a great darkness consumes all. Earth is dying. Is anyone out there? It was a cry from the cradle world, the home that had cast us out, the people who had wanted us forgotten. They were in their final hour, and they were crying out to an empty sky. The council convened in the grand orrery, a chamber where shimmering stars drifted through the air. The message played on a loop, a haunting echo of our past. The debate was fierce. Some argued to ignore it. They exiled us, said a counselor named Lyra. Their fate is their own. We owe them nothing. Others felt a flicker of old loyalty. They are still our ancestors, argued Kyle. Their blood runs in our veins, even if we have changed. The decision was not simple. We were no longer human. Why should we involve ourselves in human wars? But the plea was from the world that birthed us, a world we still carried in our memory. After days of debate, the choice was made. We would return. The journey back was not a journey at all. We did not cross the distance. We simply arrived. We gathered our collective will. We pictured the Sol system in our minds, the familiar yellow sun, the blue marble of Earth. And with a single, shared thought, we were there. The transition was seamless. One moment we were in our city of light. The next, we floated in the cold vacuum of space. But the system was not as we remembered it. The sun was hazed and dim. Mars was fractured, great canyons glowing with fire. And Earth was shrouded in a fleet of black, jagged ships. Countless vessels, like shards of obsidian, blockaded our old home. A system burning, a world besieged. We saw their struggle. Tiny human ships, brave but hopelessly outmatched. They darted between the enemy vessels, lances of light striking against impenetrable hulls. They fought with the desperation of a cornered animal. This was humanity's last stand. The final generation fighting for a world already lost. We could feel their terror, their dwindling hope, their courage in the face of annihilation. It was a war of attrition, and humanity had nothing left to give. The great enemy was patient, a predator toying with its prey. We watched as one of their last cruisers was torn apart, a silent, brilliant explosion in the dark. It was the end. Our ship was not a ship in any traditional sense. It was a formless vessel of pure energy, a shimmering protean cloud of gold and silver. It did not reflect light. It radiated it. The human defenders saw us appear, their communications channels flooded with confusion and fear. Who were we? Were we a new enemy? A new terror in their darkest hour? They did not recognize us. How could they? We were legends, myths, the shamed exiles who left 4,000 years ago. We were not supposed to exist. To them, we were strange angels, or perhaps stranger demons, arriving at the very end of all things. The enemy fleet turned its attention to us. 1,000 black ships shifted their aim. They saw us as a threat, or a curiosity, a final course before their meal. A wave of plasma fire erupted from their cannons, a storm of energy that could boil oceans. It raced towards our formless vessel. We did not raise shields. We did not evade. We simply willed it to be gone. The torrent of fire vanished, not blocked, but erased from existence. Then, it was our turn. We did not fire a single weapon. We reached out with our minds. We found the enemy fleet, and we unmade them. Their black hulls dissolved into fine, glittering dust. Their reactors went cold. Their crews turned to motes of light. In a single, silent moment, the entire enemy armada ceased to be. The last humans watched from their battered ships. They saw the enemy fleet, the tide that could not be stopped, vanish, not in fire and explosions, but in a quiet, impossible miracle. They saw our golden form drift towards their world. Their sensors could not comprehend what they were seeing. We were power beyond their understanding. We were salvation beyond their wildest dreams. Their fear, their suspicion, melted away. It was replaced by something far more potent, awe. And as we cleansed the orbital space around their planet, as we repaired their dying atmosphere with a thought, awe turned into something else. It turned into worship. They began to call us the star gods. But the enemy was not the fleet. The fleet was just a body, a tool. The true enemy was the mind that controlled it. As the last ship dissolved, we felt it. A vast, cold consciousness. A psychic presence that stretched across galaxies. It was ancient and hungry. It did not conquer worlds. It consumed them. It fed on the life force of entire civilizations. The fleet was just its mouth. Now, we had its attention. It spoke to us, not in words, but in pure, malevolent intent. It saw us not as a threat, but as an unexpected delicacy, a feast of immense power. It called itself the Great Devourer, and it was coming for us. The battle that followed was not fought in physical space. It was a war of perception, a conflict of pure will. The Devourer tried to break our minds. It showed us visions of dying stars, of universes collapsing into nothingness. It projected feelings of absolute despair, of cosmic loneliness. It wanted us to believe that existence was meaningless, that our power was an illusion. But we were born in the heart of creation. We knew the truth. Reality was not a fixed thing. It was a story, and we were its authors. We pushed back with our own truth. We showed it the beauty of a single life, the power of hope, the endless potential of a universe that chose to exist. We fought on a plane beyond time. We rewrote the laws of physics around it. We turned its own hunger against it. We made it feel the pain of every life it had ever consumed. We showed it the terror of its own non-existence. It was a mind of immense power. But it was a mind built on a single, simple concept: consumption. Our minds were built on something far more complex: creation. In the end, creation is always stronger than destruction. We found the core of its being, the central thought that defined it. And with our combined will, we erased it. We unmade the idea of the Devourer. It did not die. It simply never was. The war was over. Earth was safe. Humanity was saved. We floated in orbit, watching the blue world heal. The last humans looked up at us from their cities. They sent messages of gratitude, of praise. They built temples in our name. They had been given a new Genesis, a second chance. But we could not answer their prayers. We could not land and walk among them. We had saved them, but we were no longer them. The nebula had made us something else, something other. To descend would be to break them, to show them that their gods were once flawed, shamed humans. It was a truth they were not ready for. We are their shepherds now, their silent, unseen guardians. We pushed their moon slightly, enough to alter the tides and clear the last of the atmospheric toxins. We nudged asteroids away from their path. We watch over them from a distance, a silent promise that they will never face the great darkness alone again. They are our children, our memory, the last link to a life we can never reclaim. We left to be forgotten. We returned as gods. And now we must watch over our former race, forever the saviors, forever the strangers. Our duty is to guide them, to ensure they have a future we can never be a part of. We are the woven, and our watch has just begun.